Hotep Sinuhena Sinut E Tiren Isha Kandugu Kemet. I hope you're doing well. Let me check the sound. But the title of this video is Yahweh and the Other Gods. So let's see if it sounds okay. Got 5 seconds for the advert. Microphone check 1 2. Okay, sounds good. Now, for the record, the black Muslims, and I'm talking about those who talk about the black Islam, the black Hebrew Israelites, the people who proclaim to be Moors or Moorish, people from the MSTA, and a few black Christians who claim that Jesus was black and the inhabitants of Canaan were black, they have actually lied to you. Hey, how you doing? I'm sorry. Amun Ara Sut Atum. Thank you for letting me know that it's loud and clear. So first of all, check this out.
Allah, the Proto-Semitic Allah, further down tells us, was a black God represented by a black bull whose hide denoted his black skin.
Here's the picture that he showed on the screen. It's a deity El, the god El. Pay attention to the crown or the headdress, if you will. This is a picture from the front of the same statue, a little closer, and a little bit from the side here. Now, this headdress is actually the Atef crown. If you go on Webster's online dictionary, that's what it says. Atef is the specific feathered white crown of the Egyptian deity Osiris. It combines the head jet, the crown of Upper Egypt, with red ostrich feather for the Osiris cult. The Atef crown identifies Osiris in ancient Egyptian painting. If you go to Webster's dictionary, Merriam-Webster, it says Atef, hold on, a tall crown with a long feather on each side, shown in the art of ancient Upper Egypt as worn by Osiris. Okay? Here you can see Osar or Osiris with the Atef crown. This is from the papyrus of Nebket. It's actually in the Louvre Museum, and you can see me filming that papyrus on the video entitled Reality Check. Why black people ain't going nowhere. But you might as well put Afro Style Reality Check, it's gonna come up. And in here it's also from the Louvre Museum. You have Osiris in the middle with the Atef crown, and the description for it, if you go on the website of the Louvre Museum and you type Royal and Divine Triad, you can do a search and you will see they mention that he is actually wearing the Atef crown. Now finally you can compare the crowns. Okay, first you have the god of the Arabized Negroes, which first is El, but somehow, some way becomes Allah. But that's up to y'all. That's up to the doctor. And then you have the one that I showed you, Osiris. Then again, from the front, compared with another statue of Osiris, and then finally the same statue from another angle.
All right, this time I'm not sharing the Washington Post, but I'm sharing CNN, and it's the usual latest discovery. It's been discovered a long time ago, but I found out about it very recently thanks to our brother, Chris MVP Harris. And you will see what it says. As you can see, biblical king's seal discovered in dump site. This is the royal seal of the king Hezekiah. And here we have an ankh. And finally, last but not least, you need to see it to believe it. The God of the Bible, El, slept in his own dung and urine. This is Ugaritic Narrative Poetry, page 195. And we also have this book here, the Masria in the Prophetic Literature, where it clearly says that El floundered in his own feces and urine. So suit yourself if you want to follow that path. Now, for the record, the little homie that I addressed earlier today has replied, and here is his reply. Mad forever, N word, read what I wrote and connect your neurons. Another Berlin conference is happening right now. So, of course, he has been blocked. I would have preferred that he use the N word from the get go. And then, like when people refer to you a certain way, and then just because you don't agree with rapists and pedophiles, all of a sudden you become an N word. So, that's another example, like so many other examples, that people who are anonymous and unidentified, there's no need to really waste too much time or pay too much attention. Now, if they give you the name of a book, they give you a link to some source, you might consider it, but whatever they're talking about, there's no accountability. Now, this guy here is talking about some new Berlin conference happening right now. How does he know? Is he in touch with the people who are planning to split Africa? I mean, it sounds like the David Icke brothers, the Behold the Pale Horse brothers, what I'm saying, those people who will tell you about reptilians and all the conspiracies going on in Hollywood and all the plans that they have for microchips and all the things that basically cannot be proven. So when you throw a stone, the dog that barks is the dog that got hit. Every time I criticize rapists, you have some Pan Africans coming out of the woodwork having something to say. It's not a common thing to hear Pan Africans criticizing rapists. Pan Africanism is a anything goes dumpster. You have it all. You have it all. Now, let's deal with the topic. Many times I told you about different sources in the Bible. As a matter of fact, okay, never mind. What's this? How large is it? Oh, I have a lot of space. Amun wrote, "Yep." We'll share the link in the chat. This is Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm not making it up. It doesn't come from me. No, it's not my opinion. It's not my claim. Yahweh's source, abbreviated J, labeled J after the German transliteration of Yahweh. Now you notice here, I did not read that particular article. I read about the different sources before, but they're telling you that this is after the German transliteration of Yahweh. So Yahweh starts with a Y. In Hebrew, it will not be the letter Y. It will be one of those Hebrew symbols. We don't hear anybody saying, "Oh no, 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 it hasn't been deciphered. No, there's no way. Plus, with the Ugaritic writings that I've shown previously, without transliteration. But the black white supremacist, whenever we're dealing with something African that's authentic, that's ancient, they have a problem with that, particularly because it comes from the land that has allegedly enslaved their forefathers. They just happen to believe what their former slave masters have told them. They haven't done any research, they're just relying on some narratives. an early source that provides a strand of the Pentateuchal narrative, the basis for identifying the strand of the Pentateuch as the writing of the Yahweh strand being represented specifically in Genesis 2 to 16, 18 to 22. Okay. And Exodus, Numbers, and Judges is not only the use of the name Yahweh for God, but also the use of Yahweh in association with other indications. For example, is the advert showing? Yes, it is there. So large. Cannot. Okay. No, it's gone. So, well, it's going to keep coming up. It's okay. So, where was I? The association. For example, in the Yahweh source, the name given to Moses' father in law is Ruel. The mountain is always named as Sinai, and the Palestinians are referred to as Canaanites. In the source known as E, in which God is called Elohim, Moses' father in law is Jethro. The mountain is called Horeb, and the Palestinians are called Amorites. One can see examples of these different sources when comparing similar biblical stories. For example, the creation myth in Genesis chapter 1, verse 11 has God slash Elohim create the world. Then Genesis 2, 5 to 25 has God slash Yahweh make the world. These two creation myths differ from each other in both substantive and stylistic issues. There are other places in which the biblical narrative covers the same ground two or more times. For example, in Genesis, there are three stories in which a patriarch fools a foreign king about the status of the patriarch's wife, claiming her instead to be his sister. This event is reported between Abraham and Pharaoh over Sarah. Is that That's probably Genesis because that was the last book quoted. So, chapter 12, verse 10 to 20, for the record, before I continue. For those who are not familiar with that story, Abraham lies to Pharaoh. Pharaoh is a title, it's not a name. We don't know which Pharaoh it is, but it's not a historical story anyway. Then, if I remember correctly, if my memory doesn't fail me, there's some sort of calamity in the land because Pharaoh took somebody else's wife. And Pharaoh is not happy. Why did you lie to me? And he might state that he was afraid, but he stated, I'm talking about Abraham. You know what? Let's look at it together. But let's see how good my memory is. He stated, well, actually, she is actually my sister. She is my half sister. So there, those Abrahamic believers don't complain, but they love to complain about Uziel being with his sister. And there we are dealing with deities. So that was 12, was it? Yes, 12, 10. We're going to move to the King James Version, the one who used to get it on with secret passages. I'm going to share the link in the chat just for the record. Hey, we have our sister Thickness. How you doing, sister? Hope you're doing well. I think because you're a moderator, let me see. Yes, moderators are lucky. They don't have to be members to type in the chat. Now, I hope you're doing well, sister Thickness. So now we're going to have a look at the passage in question. There it is. So this is Genesis chapter 12, Starting at verse 10. And there was famine in the land, and Abraham, that's before he was renamed Abraham, and Abraham went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. And it came to pass when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. And it came to pass that when Abraham was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman that she was very fair. The princes also of Pharaoh saw her and commanded her before Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abraham well for her sake, and he had sheep and oxen, and he asses, and men servants, and maid servants, and she asses, and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abraham's wife. And Pharaoh called Abraham and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why saidst thou, She is my sister? So I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore, behold, thy wife, take her and go thy way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had. So in this story right there, you have some shade on the ancient Egyptians. You would think that anytime they would see a foreigner with a pretty wife, they would kill the foreigner just to take the wife. But I think in the next part, he's going to say that it is actually his half sister. But I'm tired of this very particular English, so I'm going to use a new international version. So I'm going to remove this and we're going to continue. So I will have to go to the next one. Oh, well, it's not here. I'm going to have to look for the part where it says that Sarah is his sister. I thought it was there. Abraham. So this time is Genesis 20. Okay, let's go to Genesis 20. And which verse is it? 12. Okay. All right. So it was not, when he faced Pharaoh that he revealed that Sarah was actually his half sister. It was another situation. Some people will say that was kind of pimping. You look good, they're gonna give you stuff, and I'd be sitting in the background. But that was for his own safety. That's the official version. Abraham and Abimelech. Now Abraham moved on from there into the region of the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. For a while he stayed in Gerar. And there Abraham said of his wife Sarah, She is my sister. Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. But God came to Abimelech in a dream one night and said to him, You are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman. Now, Abimelech, it's funny when you're a bit familiar with this term. Melech is like a word for king, and Abi might stand for father, so maybe it means actually, father of the king. But anyway, that's conjecture. Now, now Abimelech had not gone near her, so he said, Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Did he not say to me, she is my sister? And didn't she also say, he is my brother? I've done with a clear conscience and clear hands. And God said to him in the dream, yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now return to now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die. Early the next morning, Abimelech summoned all his officials, and when he told them all that had happened, they were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said, what have you done to us? How have I wronged you that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done. And Abimelech asked Abraham, what was your reason for doing this? Abraham replied, I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and he will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife. So there you have it. All right. Now let's continue with the different sources. Oh, for the record. All right. For the record, I wasn't far off with my breakdown of the meaning of Abimelech. That's Wikipedia, as you can see. And when you go to etymology, the name or title Abimelech is formed from Hebrew words for father and king and may be interpreted in a variety of ways, including father king, my father is king, or father of a king. In the Pentateuch, it is used as a title for kings in the land of Canaan. All right, let's go back to the sources. We have 16 people online right now. So the event is reported between Abraham and Pharaoh over Sarah, with Abraham and Abimelech over Sarah, and with Isaac and Abimelech over Rebekah. Moreover, there are two flood stories in Genesis 7. In the first, only certain animals, example, 7 pairs of clean animals and 7 pairs of birds, are brought onto the ark, while in the second, all living animals are brought in pairs to the ark. These and other indications have persuaded biblical scholars that there are four strands interwoven in the Pentateuch: the Yahwist, Elohist, so the Yahwist is called J, the Elohist, the Deuteronomist, and the priestly, hence J, E, D, and P. The Yahwist account, written in the time of David and Solomon, around 950 BCE, asked these questions about the Jewish empire. For what purpose was this empire created? For how long will it exist? Why was the gift of the empire granted to the Jews? J is a firm and final statement. At this point in history, the Jews looked backwards in time to account for the period of greatness at hand. The Yahweh's account, produced at the height of the glory of the Davidic monarchy, told the story of the federation of the tribes of Israel, now a single kingdom under Solomon, with a focus on Zion and Jerusalem, the metropolis of the federation. So, all those so called critical thinkers, and thank you for that, Brother Amun. It's been a while I'm not telling people to hit the like button. I'm kind of tired. It should be a reflex, but thank you. I appreciate that. He's correct. Different sources, therefore different group of people with their own spin to different stories that has been detected by scholars, biblical scholars. Now, where is it? There it is. Yahwehism. I'm going to share the link. What is Yahwehism? Let's find out. Now, if I have this like that, would it be large enough in the full screen? Let's have a look. Let me have a look in the full screen. We have 18 people online now. So full screen. Yeah, it's okay. Full screen is okay. Yahwism. I said Yahwinism. I'm sorry. Yahwism is a name given by modern scholars to the religion of ancient Israel. Yahwism was essentially polytheistic, with a plethora of gods and goddesses. So, those who want to talk about the days of old, it's a wrap already. Heading the pantheon was Yahweh, the national god of the Israelite kingdoms of Israel and Judah, with his consort, the goddess Asherah, and second tier gods and goddesses such as Baal, Shamash, Yarik, Mot, and Astarte, all of whom had their own priests and prophets and numbered royalty among their devotees. For the record, here we have an image on a pato shred found at Kuntilet Ajrud in the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt with the inscription Yahweh and his Asherah. So Yahweh and his main squeeze. Now, where were we? The practice of Yahwism included festivals, sacrifices, vow making, private rituals, and the adjudication of legal disputes. Contrary to the picture presented in the Hebrew Bible, the temple in Jerusalem was not the sole or even central temple of Yahweh, but the king was the head of the national religion and thus the viceroy on earth of the national god. Sounds familiar. A role reflected each year when he presided over a ceremony at which Yahweh was enthroned in the holy temple in Jerusalem. Yahwism underwent several redevelopments and recontextualizations as the notion of divinities aside from or comparable to Yahweh was gradually degraded by new religious currents and ideas. During the monarchic period of the Mid-Iron Age, the religion of Israel moved towards the sole worship of Yahweh alone. However, these theological changes remain largely confined to small groups, only spreading to the population at large during the widespread political turbulence of the 7th and 6th century BCE. This progressive evolution of monotheism had ultimately culminated by the end of the Babylonian exile by the 4th century BCE. Yahwism had coalesced, coalesced into what is known into what is now known as Second Temple Judaism. Yahwism also gave rise to Samaritanism. I did not even know about Samaritanism. Okay, I'm going to move straight to. I'm going to skip history, and I'm going to move to pantheon. It's the part of beliefs and practices. There is a broad consensus among modern scholars that the religion of ancient Israel was basically polytheistic, involving a plethora of gods and goddesses. The supreme god was Yahweh, whose name appears as an element on personal seers from the late 8th to the 6th century BCE. Alongside Yahweh was his consort Asherah, replaced by the goddess Anat Yahu in the temple of the 5th century Jewish settlement Elephantine in Egypt. And various biblical passages indicate that statues of the goddess were kept in Yahweh's temple in Jerusalem, Bethel, and Samaria. Bethel means house of God. Beth means house, and El, we already dealt with that for so many years. Below Yahweh and Asherah were second-tier gods and goddesses such as Baal, Shamash, Yarech, Mot, and Astarte, all of whom had their own priests and prophets and numbered royalty among their devotees. A goddess called the Queen of Heaven was also worshipped. She was probably a fusion of Astarte and the Mesopotamian goddess Ishtar, although the phrase is possibly a title of Asherah. A third tier, a third tier, may also have existed, made up of specialist deities such as the god of snakebite cures. Snakebite cures. His name is unknown, as the biblical text identifies him only as Nehustan, a pun based on the shape of his representation and the metal of which it was made. And below this again was a fourth and final group of minor divine beings such as the Malak, messengers of the higher gods, who in later times became the angels of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and other heavenly beings such as cherubim. Worship of Baal and Yahweh coexisted in the early period of Israel's history. They were considered irreconcilable after the 9th century BCE, following the efforts of King Ahab and his queen Jezebel to elevate Baal to the status of national god, although the cult of Baal did continue for some time. Worship. The practice of Yahwism were largely characteristic of other Semitic religions of the time, including festivals, sacrifices, vow making, private rituals, and the adjudication of legal disputes. The center of Yahweh worship lay in three great annual festivals coinciding with major events in rural life: Passover, with the birthing of lambs, Shavuot, with the cereal harvest, and Sukkot, with the fruit harvest. Harvest sounds familiar. They became linked to events in the national mythos of Israel: Passover with the exodus from Egypt, Shavuot with the law giving at Sinai, and Sukkot with the wilderness wanderings. The festival thus celebrated Yahweh's salvation of Israel and Israel's status as his holy people, although the earlier agricultural meaning was not entirely lost. Animal sacrifices played a big role in Yahwism and Judaism prior to the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE on altars, with the subsequent burning of the sprinkling of their blood, a practice described in the Bible as a daily temple ritual for the Jewish people. Sacrifice was presumably complemented by the singing or recital of psalms. It's funny because I told you about the psalm part where the Bible acknowledges other gods. But the details are scant. The rituals detailed in Leviticus 1 to 16, with their stress on purity and atonement. Atonement. Korean God has not atoned for his mistreatment of black women, so said Dr. John Henry Clark. But let's continue. Were actually followed only after the Babylonian exile and the Yahwism/Judaism transition. In reality, any head of a family was able to offer sacrifice as occasion demanded. Prayer itself played little role in practice. So I'm done with this. Now we have the Holy of Holies in a ruined temple at Tel Arad with two incense pillars and two stelae, one to Yahweh and one most likely to Asherah. The temple was probably destroyed as a part of Josiah's reform. So that's what you have left. So that's a quick one for today. We have 17 people online. We don't have any questions in the chat, so I'm going to wish you all a great evening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and if I'm allowed to by the nature, I will definitely holler back at you. I don't argue, I state facts. If you're not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. 22, 22, Hotep.
Now, for the record, for those who don't know, I'm giving middle nature classes. And here, that's the flyer. Okay? So, those who are interested, feel free to holler at me. If you're not interested, it's cool. But I recommend that everybody who has not yet seen the video, Kemet and Ma'at, Before Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, then watch it. It has about 300,000 views and really deserves to have a lot more.
I just want to let everyone know who's listening in now and who's going to listen to this stream in the future. I just had my first Meta Nature class by Brother Shaka today, and I've had other Meta Nature lessons by other teachers, and I can tell you right now, the brother is the best in the game. He is that was one of the best classes I've ever had, ever. So if you're interested in learning the Meta Nature, if you're interested in getting the basics of it, Brother Shaka is an awesome teacher. Get with him, and it's extremely affordable. This brother is giving us his time and his skills, and he's basically giving it away. I mean, I just consider it a donation. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody is interested in learning the Meta Nature, get with this brother right here. He's an awesome teacher. And I'll end with that.
Hotep Senu, Hena Senut. This is Julie, also known as Servant of Yah, and I'm currently taking the Medu Neture classes with Brother Shaka, and it has been an amazing experience. Only 2 lessons so far, and I feel like I've been taking the classes for months, just with the how in depth he goes into the vocabulary words, the construction of the language, the grammar. It's been immeasurable, the experience. And one thing that comes across, hands down, is his extreme passion for teaching this to anyone who is willing to learn and has an interest in learning. So I highly suggest, if you are interested, even a minimal interest, that you subscribe to the classes with Brother Shaka. It's such a nominal amount for how much you get. I know, like, our last class was over 2.5 hours. It felt like 2 minutes, but because that's how involved you are in what he's teaching and how he teaches and how compassionate he is about what he teaches. Also with sharing materials free of charge, no question, no doubt. It's just what he does. He doesn't have to, but he does. And so I just wanted to give a short testimonial about the class and the effectiveness of the class. And all of that is attested to how studied Brother Shaka is. So I highly recommend anyone with a minimal interest that you do sign up for the Medu Neture class. Hotep.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, which is Ma'at Forever. Don't forget to watch the video entitled Kemet and Ma'at. Don't forget to share Kemet and Ma'at on my channel on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or other social media that you use. Email, text messages, you name it. Those who wish to donate can do so on paypal.me/ma'atforever.